you know, we do have an industry in crisis from a skills perspective. I think everybody recognises that. You know, a few of us on the call here are part of Autoraise as trustees, and I think, Dean, haven't we sort of estimated we're probably about 2,000 apprentices short of where we should be as an industry? I think that's a number that we've sort of come up with, isn't it?
Yes, yeah. So we read through Mission Possible was to generate 2,500 new apprentice positions by 2025, and we obviously that was mid-pandemic. We've had a good stretch at it over the last 2 quarters. So Q4 of 2021 and Q1 of 2022 has certainly given us a great kickstart towards that number, but we're probably still 1,800 to 2,000 shy of what we need by 2025.
I mean, that is a huge number, and I think the concern is, you know, I just don't get the sense that our industry is just grasping the nettle and going for it, really. Yes, we've got enormous problems in the here and now. I think we all know we've got massive shortage of skilled labour right now. Apprentices aren't going to fix that in the short term, without a doubt. You know, they just can't. Well, I think we need to look at some other ways, and I can talk about a couple of things that we're considering. But we just still do, for the future, need to get more and more body shops jumping in to getting apprentices and just taking a dive and, you know, taking that leap and commitment to get in there. So, you know, at Autoraise, there's clearly still this lack of demand at the body shop level for apprentices. And I think a lot of it still is that some of the processes are unclear. You know, I think for the ordinary guy that's working flat out in their body shop and maybe haven't taken on an apprentice before, they still just don't really have the time to get underneath the hood of it and really understand it. I don't think the costings are clear enough for them. You know, so as a good example, I think, you know, this apprentice levy thing, I think there's still quite a lot of people out there that think if they get this apprentice levy, that actually pays the wages of apprentices. And of course, that isn't actually the case. And I think there's a hesitancy from body shops because of the strain or the perceived strain that they have on their business. And I think we kind of need to try and blow them out of the water a little bit, you know, assuming they're true, dispel some of the myths and just try to clarify some. I'm going to try and ask the most stupid questions today, right? And that's going to be really difficult for me. But I'm going to ask the most stupid questions because I think that's where we need to start it, really, so that nobody can be afraid of, you know, the sort of questions people might be afraid to ask, but they just think they'll look too silly to do it. We all talk about sort of partnerships and, you know, people complain about rates and things like that. But at the end of the day, you know, LV have gone out there, they've written their Green Heart Standard that, you know, you put your money where your mouth is in terms of apprenticeships. And you're actually within your standard, you know, encouraging every body shop, as I understand it, to take on an apprentice. Yeah, I can't see anybody else doing that. If I'm wrong, you know, I'm happy to be stand corrected. But I think that is tremendous, and you know, it's one of the reasons why, you know, you're invited on here today, Mo. Thank you.
Okay. First of all, it's John Henderson, Technical Training and Development Manager in Gemini. I think it's easy to talk about Gemini, but let's talk about what Autoraise and the industry needs. Having been around longer than a lot of people, I've seen this need for introducing new blood into the accident repair industry as a constant theme before the year 2000, and it's not gone away. The biggest difference now is that the technology involved to actually develop people that we get interested in the industry, it's much more demanding, more exact, actually more attractive to young people's links with IT. But coming back to Autoraise wanting to campaign and open the doors, I think it is a wonderful industry that is being showcased by Autoraise. And I have the greatest honour to work for a managing director who gave me the reins to actually run and create what I hope is the best apprentice programme for young people in the accident repair industry. I think what I'd say is that it's easy to think about it from the employer's point of view, but that's totally wrong. We should actually be looking at it from the young person's point of view. What do we do to attract, to magnetize people for a delivery? And employers need to realize, if they actually go out of their way to say how wonderful this is an industry and a career and an opportunity for life, and that I'm going to help you on the journey, if you embed that in everything that you do, then you're going to keep people on the journey. They're actually going to want to come to work, even if you have to buy them an alarm clock, Dave. Having said that, what you've got to do is actually make them feel valued. Everyone's got a stereotypical view of what an apprentice is expected to do and is capable of achieving. Don't listen to that. It's got to be much higher and actually recognised by young people. Wow, this is a journey. And that's what has to be done by employers at the moment. And for young people, if they can hear a wow journey, they will want it, they will come. You build it, they will come. That's what Kevin Costner's the film.
That's absolutely true. Was that Waterworld or something like that?
So that's where I see myself in terms of trying to make sure that aspiration takes place and pushing the buttons to make it happen.
Apprentices, we need repairers to engage with that process. We need repairers, even if they're hesitant and worried about the things that are associated with taking on apprentices, they need to jump in. They need to say, they need to contact Autoraise and say, do you know what? I don't know everything. I'm not sure if this is right for me. I don't know if I've got the space in my business. I don't know if I can afford it. But, you know, tell me about it. I'm interested. And we just don't have enough interest. What's stopping them? What's stopping everything?
I think what you've highlighted, Chris, is what's been about for a long time. And it's most people in their business, small and medium, PLCs and not PLCs, that they are feeling under different pressures that actually they haven't got time to think about people. They're thinking about making money. Yeah. And you have to almost be a salesman to stand alongside somebody while they're meeting their aspirations of completing work and say, look, can you listen to me while you work? Get past that stage. That's the first thing. We've now got technology to use this. You don't have to leave your workshop to actually go somewhere to find out and visit and see something. We've got to be able to also, in reverse, go into places. And it might mean that you've got to go out of the working day. You've got to give them the invitation to take some of their personal time on a Zoom call or something, so we can talk and sell apprenticeships, sell the idea. If you haven't got time in the day, let's have some time in your part-time day. I think the next thing is it's unlocking and listening to all the points they put up as barriers. They can't see that you have to invest to grow. There's the two words that really is the biggest building block that is needing to be surpassed.
You said about their businesses. Okay, they are businesses. If I'm a body shop now, let's say I'm a small to medium-sized independent body shop, I've got work coming out my ears. I've got staff shortages. I'm trying to sort of, go through the recruitment agencies to get more staff. They're going to cost me a fortune, but there isn't anybody anyway. I literally can't get a painter. I've got work providers, screaming at me about service levels. Jenny's off sick. I've got a customer complaining. I've just got way too much in my head to even contemplate an apprentice. Do I need to do it? That's the problem that we've got for people. They've just got too much on their plate to just try and take that step.
Gents, can I interject if I may, please? Two things that I'd like to say. One is exactly what you've said about Autoraise, Chris, are here to support repairers in finding, securing, placing young people into apprenticeship programs. So I just want to support that point. That's what we're here for. That's what we do. It's what we do day in, day out. We can talk through the financial elements. We can talk through the recruitment parts. We can talk through the training. We can talk through how the levy pot works. Everything that a repairer wants to know, and I'm putting myself out here, between Jennifer and I, if we don't have the answer, we'll get you the answer, and we'll get you the answer within a matter of hours. Yeah. So there should be no reason for a repairer not to take on an apprentice because they don't know what the process is or they feel unsupported. Because I can say now on this call, unequivocally, we will support you in doing that. Okay, so that's the first thing I wanted to say. The second thing I wanted to say, which is really to John's point, only yesterday there was a there was a repairer in Llanelli, which I think is South Wales, who had shown some sort of interest in taking on an apprentice, and Jen spoke to that repairer, and the repairer was like, I need someone. I'm not really a big fan of apprenticeships. They don't really work. I can't find anyone. It's something I feel quite negative about, but fair play to the repairer that they had been at least proactive. So we took the approach there, which we take every single time, and I can't stress that enough, where we said, okay, you've dropped us a challenge. You're cynical about apprenticeships. You say you can't find them, but at least there's an appetite to take someone on. So what we then did, in fact, Jen did, is she then proactively called the colleges and secondary schools in and around that area and spoke to the careers officers, etc., and found two people that wanted to work in the motor trade repairing motor vehicles. So we've taken their details, we've hooked them up with this repairer. This only happened yesterday, so it's early days. But all things being equal, if they've got an appetite to repair cars and the repairer has got an appetite to take on apprenticeships, then I can't see why it won't work. So I think that's really why I wanted to interject, Chris. That is a live scenario of what we're talking about here.
John,
that's what we do.
I think that's bang on, Steve. Right. So really, I think what we're saying is, look, if the world is sort of spinning around you and you've got a million things going on, you know that having an apprentice in your business would help it, right? But it seems too daunting. There's only one thing you need to do, and that's contact Autoraise. Yeah. And they're there to hold your hand and just take you through it. You don't need to be any more complicated than that.
No, you don't even need to have Autoraise. If you haven't even got time for a telephone conversation, which, I'm guilty of this thing. Oh God, if I ring them, I'm going to be on the phone for an hour, and I haven't got an hour, and I haven't in my day. But drop us an email. Say just literally, hi, I'm in Colchester and I'm looking for an apprentice. We will do everything in our powers to resolve that, and we'll come back to you. So that it's not heavy lifting for the repairer at all.
If I took on an apprentice, when could how long would it be before they started to earn money, right? So John said their businesses. I know that it's going to be an investment. I know I'm going to have to pay their wages. I know that one of my technicians is going to be helping them and overseeing them. So he may end up, working a little bit slower at a time when I don't really need it. Can anyone ask that question? How long does it take before, an apprentice turns into somebody that starts benefiting my business? Hello, Louise.
Let me come into that. Question, Chris, because there are two fundamental parts of that, and I'm sure the employees in the room can talk to their experience. But I know that from a training provision point of view, we have designed our apprenticeship provision to try to ensure that an apprentice can produce productive hours as early as 12 weeks into the apprenticeship. We design it so as, you know, they're not, if they're a painter, they're not going to start putting on pearl coats in 12 weeks. If they're in panel, they're not going to start welding on chassis legs in 12 weeks. If they're MET, they're not going to start making EV safe in 12 weeks. But you can provide them with productive task orientated capabilities that where the employer and the training provider work in real harmony and partnership. Those productive hours start from as little as 12 weeks in. That may not be a direct return on investment, but I would certainly suggest with a mature, well-rounded training program and proper partnership, that return on investment can be seen 12 months in, and then the next 2 years you're actually making money out of having an apprentice on your an apprentice program rather than spending money on it.
That is just an amazing piece of news. I don't think people realise that, you know. So in 12 weeks, they're producing hours. Within a year, they're probably a net benefit to you. 1 year, they're probably a net benefit to your business. They're earning you more than it's costing. And I think I heard an IMI piece of data, and apologies if I haven't got this quite right, but I think they did a study and they said, you know, because one of the things that people worry about is, oh, I'll train someone up, I'll put all the effort in, and then at the end of the apprentice, somebody else will just go and nick them. But I think I heard a piece of data that said at the end of 3 years, at the end of the apprenticeship, even if they were to leave on that day, most apprentices return a 246% return on investment at the end of that period. And that's pretty amazing, isn't it? You know what I mean? So it's fairly risk-free, isn't it? You know, I mean, obviously it's down to you as an employer to look after your employees and, you know, try and sort of keep them with you. But, you know, there's a massive return on investment regardless. Tremendous, that is, I think. So, okay, thanks for that, Dean. That's a really interesting piece of info. Does anybody know, right? So obviously, well, let's start with the training. So if I'm a body shop owner, do I pay for the training of the apprentice, or does somebody else pay for it?
The government will pay the government will pay for it predominantly. So if you're a large employer, you pay what is called the apprenticeship levy, which is basically a small percentage of your total payroll goes into a levy pot that you have access to pay apprentices.
Yeah.
So if you are that size of employer, over a £3 million wage bill on an annual basis, you're paying into that pot. And if you don't take on apprentices, that's just money wasted.
Okay, yeah.
If you're a smaller employer, you're going to pay 5% of the total training cost. So on an apprenticeship that's costing 15 grand, you're going to pay about £600.
The total training cost 600 quid
for a 3-year journey. For 3 years of training.
Yeah.
£600 is your contribution towards that training cost.
And I asked Louise, who works at Accident Express, to join us at really, really short notice as an independent repairer. Just say hello.
Hi.
So what I was going to ask, perhaps you straight away, Louise, if it's okay, is this. So we're hearing that the training is paid for by the government, with the exception of borrowing like 600 quid over the course of the 3 years. But someone has to pay their wages. But the training isn't their wages. It's completely separate, isn't it?
Yeah.
Now, you know, I know what, you know, national living wages for young people, it differs according to age. So like a 19-year-old, I think is about £6.56 an hour, isn't it? But realistically, are you actually going to be able to attract an apprentice for that kind of money?
It's a difficult one. So apprentices, from a personal perspective here, you know, I've got to be very careful not to sound too cliche. You know, we've had bad experiences in the past, which I'm sure a lot of other body shops can relate to, but it shouldn't be a reason why we don't do that moving forward. And what it probably means is that we need to have a better infrastructure with how we deal with apprentices in order to make them a successful journey throughout. So for me personally, I feel as though maybe support for more smaller independent body shops in the administration and the human resources side of things, in being able to enable apprentices and the programme within the site would be beneficial. So here we switched to traineeships, and that has enabled us to have a higher retention. We have our own, obviously, custom made training plan, and we're able to adapt that to the individual as well. But sort of just trying to, you know, moving forward into the future, apprentices and going back to, you know, maybe looking at that again in the future is something that we're currently doing at the moment, on how we can maybe run the two schemes together. So for me, probably just to really cut it down on what I've said, is I think just having a better support package. I think that whilst it is actually quite relatively straightforward when you look into all the details, if you ask a lot of small body shops, they don't know what or how to approach an apprenticeship, and nor do they really have the desire to do that either. So I think maybe have something that's quite quick and easy for the smaller shops that don't have the level of resources as the bigger groups as well. Don't know whether I've answered your question though, Chris.
No, I mean, like this, you have sort of. So, let's say, right, I need a panel beater today. So I'm a body shop that needs a panel beater today, or I know my panel beater is going to retire in 3 years, let's say. Okay. So I'm thinking, well, okay, at some point I'm going to have to replace my panel beater. Let's say I pay my panel beater, you know, £35,000 currently. I'm just picking a number out of the sky, but I know they have gone up a hell of a lot, probably 11% pre-COVID to post-COVID. So let's say I'm paying my panel beater 35,000. What would I need to pay? I don't know if anyone's got this question, the answer to this, but what typically would I have to pay an apprentice panel beater or multi-skilled guy to start that journey, to attract somebody into that role and keep them for those 3 years so that they're in good shape when my panel beater goes? Anyone got a good answer to that?
I haven't got a direct answer to that, Chris, other than very much anecdotally, it's been estimated that an apprentice will cost a body shop circa £18,000 a year. 18,000 pounds a year. It's very anecdotal, and it's variable depending on how much that particular body shop wants to pay that apprentice, the training provider that they choose, and therefore, you know, location, travel, accommodation, etc., and the sort of program they're on.
Yeah.
But you know, you can top and tail that with 10-15% flexibility, I guess. But anecdotally, about £18,000 a year is where we've got it positioned with our employer partners.
So about 18 grand a year, but at the end of year one, they're pretty much paying for it themselves anyway. After year one, you're probably making more money back than that. So you're getting somebody ready to replace your panel beater, and they're actually making you some money as well in the process.
They can do. The biggest challenge, if you want that to be, if your apprentice program is just to train the next generation, then it's fine, and you will always run the risk of they become qualified and they become attractive to the market. Otherwise, you do the more intelligent strategic planning for retention and succession, and you reward them as they become more productive into your business, and you engage with them effectively. They're not just a trainee across your business, they're actually a member of the team, an important and vital member of the success of the long-term strategy.
So I'm deciding I want to take on an apprentice. You know, I've been weighing it up. I think they're gonna make me some money, and we're going to help the industry. We're going to fix a big long-term problem. I'm probably going to contact Autoraise as my first job. I'm just going to contact Autoraise, and Jen's going to help me find somebody, or we're going to start on that journey. What else do I need to consider? Is it, you know, so what about a training provider? Where do I find one? You know, is that, do I need to go and do some research, or is this something Autoraise will help me with?
So
I would have thought Autoraise is aware of the training providers throughout the UK, whether it's single skill or multi-skills. The good thing about single skills, we can embrace that across all nations. We haven't got the same luxury of multi-skills. Having said that, if there is a responsibility for training providers to make sure they've set their stall out to Autoraise in the first place. What are they delivering? What are they offering? I'm not sure anybody has actually done that realistically, apart from a handful. And we certainly are aware that there are several training providers that aren't closely linked in the UK to Autoraise. I think that needs addressing, because that will increase the geography. But also, we've got to also consider that part and parcel of attracting young people, it's the demographics of the country, the past industries, the legacy that's in the family units that's trying to encourage or support or reject these practical industries. The Greater London area has always been a different example of its attractiveness to hands-on practical work. If you get to Wales, you may find that you've got more of an opportunity to attract people into practical apprenticeships, but is the actual openings there for employed opportunities? So we've got all sorts of strange things that are coming in. But going back to the key question, Chris, that you were saying on this one, what do we pay? How do we attract? What you pay has to attract young people to see the industry as something they want to embark on. If it isn't there set out in the first place, you will never attract people, because they'll be working on misguided information. So if an employer wants to be serious, they've got to realise they may have to come out their comfort zone on one hand, but also they've got to realise, if I'm going to keep that person now I've got them, it's like catching a fish. I want to keep that person. What do I do to retain it on the hook? So it isn't just at the starting gate that there is the attractiveness. It's what they're going to have on the journey. It's the package.
I was coming off mute, and John beat me to it. So he's always quick on the draw, is our John. But yeah, Autoraise can help with all of the training providers. We will contact them on behalf of the repairers, England, Scotland, and Wales. Yes, we do have bigger relationships with some training providers than others, but that's normally down to geography. But we can certainly take care of all of that.
Steve,
not an issue at all.
If I'm an ordinary repairer, I'm a little guy. You know, do I have to pay Autoraise? Do I have to pay you to get support?
No, you don't have to. You don't have to pay us. What we do ask for is for repairers to become affiliated repairers, which gives us an income into the charity. But that is not a prerequisite for us helping you. We'll help anyone. So just to give you an idea, Chris, since June last year, we have assisted in the recruitment of over 260, now it's probably nearer 270 apprentices into our industry, and they haven't all been for affiliated repairers, i.e. repairers that pay us a sum every month. Clearly, without that income, it's very difficult to do the work that we do. But alongside affiliated repairers and our sponsors, that enables us to do it, Chris. But
Brilliant.
no cost at all.
I just think, I heard somebody say, oh, it's going, how much is it going to cost me to join Autoraise? And I know Autoraise has helped literally hundreds of repairers that have paid them absolutely nothing. And as far as I'm aware, there's no one takes any wages.
No.
With the exception of maybe, somebody, Jen, that helps us on a daily basis, but nobody takes any wages out of Autoraise. So it's just there to help. So listen, if you're a repairer out there, and again, you're just thinking about it, you just have to call Autoraise. It ain't going to cost you anything. And we'll hold you by the hand. And, even if you decide not to do it, just give it, if you're even 5% thinking about it, just get on the phone and give us a call, because it might be the best thing your business has ever had. It could be absolutely fantastic. Stuart, you're here from MTech College. Thank you ever so much for joining. What happens at the college? So if you've got an apprentice, how much time is this apprentice spending at the body shop in the business? How much time is he spending at college? Do I have to pay for him to go to college? Like his expenses? What can you tell me?
Okay, so it's a national program, so they're coming from all over the UK. So we've got a hotel that we use, so we'll place them in a hotel. So depending on how you've got your training plan, it can be somewhere between 16 to 20 blocks of training across a multi-skill program. That we can add on parts of the program, single skill parts, so we can look at offering a little bit more on top of the multi-skill. So what I think you've got to look at the accommodation costs, the travelling costs, depending on where you're coming from. And I was just thinking, there are government incentives.
Right, okay. So I'll get money for taking on an apprentice.
But not all year round. So we'll get a window of an opportunity, and the government will say, if you sign on an apprentice at this particular time, you'll get X amount of pounds back. We can't rely on the government incentive, but it has proven to be a good window for employers to sign on apprentices.
£4,000 mentioned before. Is that right?
Yeah, possibly. Yeah, it does change, and depending on what program that you're signing on to.
Dean's got some info on this. Dean's got
go on, Dean. Go on, Dean, help me out.
Yeah, there's currently the incentive is sitting at £3,000. 50% of that is paid after 3 months, and the other 50% is paid after 12 months of continuous on-program provision. And every training provider, I'm sure Stuart's got colleagues that are all over this, over the finance and funding, but every training provider will have somebody there that can explain how it works. We've shared information directly with Autoraise, so Jen has a significant info pack on how this works. But the way I see it, you pay £600 to pay for some training provision, and you're going to get that back 5 times through an incentive program at the moment.
That's amazing. Okay. Well, I think that's something that probably people didn't know as well. There's government money for it. 50% of it, after 6 months. The other 50% after 12 months wipes out your £600 sort of. Yep.
Unfortunately, Chris, just to kind of put something on that, the lack of information and the lack of knowledge by employees has been a real disappointment. The government are due, and we're waiting to see if there's any signs of extending that, and there could well be signs of extending it, but right now that incentive program is enhanced, and that enhancement's due to finish on the 31st of March. as a training provider, I can tell you we're very hopeful that the government will decide to extend this scheme as they continue to try to encourage younger people to move towards apprentices rather than university, and continue to encourage small employers to take on apprentices.
Okay, Dean, that's amazing. I've got another question, if it's all right. I'm not sure where it's going, but so again, I'm a small body shop, medium-sized body shop, or whatever. I've decided to take on apprentice. Someone in my business has got to mentor, support that person. You know, probably a technician, I'd guess. So if you're a Gemini, you know, you may have enough scale to have people in your business that is their role. You know, and I know you have, you know, and many other groups as well. If it's just like a family-run business, who's going to look after this apprentice? You know, because I haven't got time to do it. I'm pulling my hair out. You know, I'm dealing with VDAs, I'm dealing with customers, insurers, and everything else. Who typically in the body shop is the person that looks after this apprentice day to day? I mean, maybe Louise, what would it be like in your business?
We'd normally assign a buddy that would go with that person. So a key way that we would address that is, whilst they are with that buddy, they're able to learn certain life skills when it comes to the world of work, because we've got to remember these people have never actually worked in a work environment prior, potentially. Obviously, it's not always the case. So as well as just technical on-the-job training, there is also a requirement in being able to support them into this journey of work and what the etiquette of the work environment is as well. So short answer would be to have, we have buddies that help. And we do also, we're fortunate, whilst we are small, we do have HR as well that is able to support in another area too.
Superb. Superb.
Answers it right?
Yeah, it does it perfectly. And probably one for maybe Adam, or you know, or Dave. You know, if I am buddying an apprentice in my business, what happens to me? You know, as a, let's say I'm a panel beater or painter, does my productivity dip? You know, do I start losing money? Does taking on, you know, does mentoring an apprentice affect me and, you know, my wages and everything else? Has anyone got an answer to that?
I'm actually going to say that from what we've seen in our body shops, nothing dips, nothing happens with the productivity. In fact, what you find is that after a very short period of time, when that buddy or the technician has supported that individual, it actually starts to become more effective and more efficient, because that individual that's with them is helping them, I don't know, set up tools ready, or you know, plan out what they've asked them to do. So in fact, the efficiency would actually start to smooth out and speed up slightly as we get going with that individual.
I'm just hearing positive after positive, really. It just feels like an amazing thing to do.
Chris, there's just on that, and to support that point that Adam's got, and we've obviously, and I'm sure Stuart's got the same, got a huge amount of experience now in understanding the impacts of apprentices inside repair businesses and alongside their technicians. And you know what? It's a prime example. I don't know if you've ever heard the term of reverse mentoring, where the leaders learn from the trainees. And the apprenticeship is a prime example where you've got a skilled technician who's actually completing their own journey of learning, because every time the apprentice comes back from the college, they've learned something that maybe the skilled technician hasn't had the time to go away and pick up. And that reverse mentoring raises the skills of the whole business as that training takes place. And I think if you want to really add a benefit to it, it's free training for everybody that you put mentoring an apprentice.
Wow. Yeah, I get you. I think, yeah, you know, and that's probably something a lot of people won't think about as well. The benefit that this young person, the diversity of having this new person with all their new skills and the way that they live and think, you know, bringing that into your business actually improves your business in other ways as well. Thank you, Dean. Dave, I've got a quick question for you, actually. So, you know, I've embarked on taking on an apprentice. You know, I've gone through all the hard yards. Yes, you know, they have benefited the business during the course of the apprenticeship. And then at the end of it, they just sod off to somewhere else. Or, you know, the guy next door just poaches them off me. So, you know, I've been paying them now 22 grand. I've given him a couple of little pay rises along the way. But he wants to be earning a lot more, and someone just whips him. You know, does that happen? How do you combat it?
It's an interesting point. I mean, we're reaching that stage now where our apprentices are going through endpoint assessment, and we've had lots of discussion about what we're going to pay them. You know, when they reach that point, are they fully skilled? Are they nearly fully skilled? So we've got a scale, and I think it's important for apprentices to know what they're going to be paid when they pass. I think that's an important part of it, and that they are paid well, and where you pitch that. So we've gone through quite a painstaking approach to that, and John and Dan have worked hard on each individual as we've got them all the way across the country. So pay rates differ from area to area, not dramatically, but they do differ. And obviously apprentices all talk. So if you've got 80 odd apprentices all chatting and saying, I'm being paid this, I'm being paid this, obviously you've got that issue to deal with as well. But I think it's really important to be clear from day one when you take an apprentice on, this is their journey, this is the plan, this is what you will earn after year one, after year two, after year three. When you pass your endpoint assessment, this is what you will be paid. So it's firm in their mind. You're always going to have, you know, I think in the Bristol area we had a British car auction place set up, paying £20 an hour for people just to prep cars. I mean, you know, it's bonkers. But and some people might go for that, you know. But John, Dan, and Adam are very good at explaining to the young people that, you know, this is a career. It's not to earn £20 an hour might sound great if you want to keep prepping cars every day of your life. You know, you can't stop someone who wants to do that. Hopefully, coming on the multi-skill journey, they've seen all three aspects of the workshop side of the business.
Yeah.
And they may excel, and they do. They excel at painting, or they excel at panel beating, or excel at being a mechanic, you know, whatever it is. And hopefully that part of the enjoyment of working keeps them. But you've got to treat them right from day one. You know, you've got to really show them the path. And if they don't want to stop on the shop floor, you know, Adam came into the business to start a pathway to VDA. You know, some lads will, or you know, apprentices will want to, after 3 years, want to progress off the shop floor. So we've given them that option as well. You know, not everyone wants to stay on the shop floor. Some people do, some don't. So if that's the other side of it as well, there's the apprentice VDA opportunity. We've opened up as well, but you know, you can't keep everyone, and we haven't along the journey. You know, we've probably, I think it's about 10%. John, correct me. No doubt.
I suppose it's down to the individual business and how they treat them. And you know, if people don't leave, you know, people don't leave for money. They leave sort of. Well, they do leave for money, believe it or not, don't they? But you know, typically, if you treat them well as an employer, they're going to want to stick around.
Yes.
And you're going to want to pay them, you know, what they're worth. You know, they're going to be paid what they're worth, aren't they?
Sure. Yeah, absolutely.
Listen, I know we've run out of time a little bit. You know, it's just gone past in a flash, but I feel like we've sort of covered a lot of ground actually, and we've answered a lot of questions that I'm sure people still didn't quite know. And I think, you know, I would love to see from this, and, you know, we're going to syndicate this if everyone's okay to have their beautiful faces out there on video. And let's see if we can get at least 100 body shops just to contact Autoraise, just stick their hand out and go, do you know what? I'm half interested you know, let's just have a look at this. Let's find out what it's going to be like, and see, just test the water. So you know, let's start this now and see if we can get at least 100. And if we get another 100 after that, we're on the way, aren't we?
Chris, can I just say one other thing?
Yeah.
You know, we started this back in 2017, really, in anger for Gemini, and I'm so glad we did. You know, we didn't see a pandemic coming. No one did. The skill shortage has got worse, not better. Even with big body shop groups going down, it's got worse. The actual poaching of staff is far worse than it ever was. You know, I've never seen it in this position. I am so glad that we did what we did.
Yeah.
Because having that amount of apprentices and having a future-proof plan for our business with these young people has put us in a brilliant position, probably better than any other group in the industry at this moment in time, because we've got that depth of young people in the business. So that's what I would say to any body shop group. You don't know what's coming around the corner, but it's not going to get any easier. So I don't think people are going to start suddenly getting younger on the shop floor unless you start investing in them.
Chris?
Michael?
Yeah, sorry, I've got another meeting, but I just wanted to an insurance company's perspective. I'm often confused why it doesn't get wider attention from insurers, because what is the body shop's problem or the network's problem is very much your problem as well. And to be honest, it does concern me and worry, because if there are capacity concerns and staffing concerns, it does have repercussions from insurers. And I think there is, and I can probably say this on good authority, but there is a little bit of ignorance, I think, from an insurer and work provider point of view. And I think there could be more to be done there, not just obviously from the repairer side, but I think from work providers, and I would say wider connections in the supply chain as well, because they are also relying on staff and people repairing cars. So from an insurance perspective, I think there's still a lot more awareness that needs to be done on our side.
I couldn't agree more. I couldn't agree more. All right, guys, listen, I know a lot of you got to leave. I really appreciate you all taking your time out, and at very short notice as well for some. Let's stuff this 100. Let's target 200. Target 200, all right? And let's see if we can just get 200 names just to get this going. 10%, you know, less than 10% of our target. Thank you all very, very much for joining. I really, really appreciate it. Can you all do a little smile, just so I can do a little screenshot if we're going to put this on social media? Now, I did say smile, John. Oh, here we go, Michael Golden. Right, guys, thank you ever so much for joining. I really appreciate it. See you soon.
Bye.
Bye.